All right, and we're back. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. This is hour 2. Hopefully everybody finds the link. Do us a quick favor, share it on your favorite social media platform because we have the man, the myth, and now the soon-to-be legend here, Cory Besch, the brother of Ahmed Hassanein. He's going to give us the deets, right? The details of the story that will soon be Ahmed Hassanein's future in the NFL, where he has come from, the roots that have been firmly planted, the family dynamic, which is something that we really want to dig into today, and the culture and the shaping of Ahmed and who he is today and why he's going to be successful in the NFL. I think that we've all gravitated to the polarizing nature that Ahmed has given the NFL in short spurts already of just who he is as a person, always smiling, always happy, energetic, ready to go. And we're ready to go. So let's kick it off this morning with Cory Besch. Good morning, gentlemen, and good morning, Cory. Thank you for joining the Rise and Grind Morning Show today. Just give us a quick introduction, who you are, where you are, and then we'll dive into the questions.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate the time, getting up nice and early to talk football. It's always a good day for me. But I'm, like you said, Cory Besch, Ahmed's older brother by 14 years, and like I've told a lot of people, just a small part of the journey that he's taken, and just played a small, humbled role, and blessed to be here to talk about it. So yeah, excited about today's show.
We're absolutely ecstatic to have you on. Now, I know you visited Woodward Sports. I believe you did Crunch Time last night. And quickly, the thing that I've learned about you is, one, you know your stuff. And I've got to ask the first question. Why are you not on a sports desk somewhere? Because you just have this amazing light surrounding you. Maybe that's in your future. I don't know. I don't know what you do for a living, but you've got it, man. You've got that gift to gab.
I appreciate that, man. It's a lot of years, thinking about sports, talking about sports, being a teacher, being a coach. You just learn how to communicate, right? I'm a psychology major in background, so I don't have a good answer for you why I'm not on a sports desk, why I'm not making content and in the media. I would love to be honest. I've actually thought about it, dreamt about it. You talked about how this channel was kind of your passion project, and deciding that you're gonna, when things are not going your way, maybe in life, or you're facing challenges, it helps you gain perspective. And to be honest, like, this little run I've made of shows and the great feedback I've felt from the community of Detroit and Boise, I've always had it in the back of my mind. And maybe God has that for me. And I would love for that door to be opened. And so if there's anybody out there listening and has a job for me waiting, and, I've even mentioned something, what if, I had to move to Detroit to do something in the media, I would be down. And my wife said, you never know, don't put it past God. And I've learned throughout this journey with my brother, and there's nothing too big for God, for sure. So I don't have a good answer for you. If you know any references, I know this isn't a credentialed NFL show, right? So hey, maybe it's with you guys, but yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you heard it, but the creak of the door, I just heard it open. So
it's opening. I love it.
It's open.
I can't quite hear it. I'm not getting that feedback. So
yeah. We'll get into that stuff off air, but yeah, I love the energy, man. And
thanks, man.
And so
Appreciate
I've got Eric Rintamaki here. He's a longtime Lions faithful. Eric, say good morning, and then we'll get into Riley here in just a second too.
Yeah, good morning, man. Appreciate being on.
I appreciate you, man. And I love the background. I got to work on my game. Literally, I work on my game in the background. It's my golf game, but I got to work on my backdrop game. I once did a podcast for a company, a startup NIL company that was launching when I moved here to Boise. So I had it all set up in the office, and within like a week, the company did not last. And then I had to take it all down, and we migrated in here. And so I think I might need to work on my backdrop for sure.
It's all good, man. I love the fact that you're doing golf in the garage. That's awesome. And then we've got Riley, Mr. Utah here. Good morning, Riley, and obviously say hi to Cory this morning.
Yeah, good morning, man. I'm so excited. It's so cool that, we sit and chat a little bit, and it's just unique how football brings us all together. And, I've got to give a shout out to a big Boise State fan and friend, Brett Moore. I told him yesterday, hey, we have Ahmed Brothers coming on. We're going to do an interview with him. And he's, he was like, oh, man, I'm so excited to hear it. So, man, I'm just excited. Appreciate you giving us some time this morning, Cory.
For sure. You're my neighbor, brother. We're one state away. You might hear me if I get a little too loud on this podcast.
Not too far. Yeah. Yeah. That's not too far at all.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just dive right in. Now I've listened to some of the shows that you've been on, and I really wanted to cover the family dynamic. Obviously, it's your show. You're gonna run with it. You're gonna lead. I'm just gonna ask the questions. So right away, if you could give us a history lesson on the family dynamic, kind of who grew up where and when, brothers and sisters, parents, etc. Go as deep or reserved as you want here, and if there's anything that you need to talk about, man, this is the time, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of backdrop. A lot of people talk about their family tree. I like to refer to ours as like a family jungle, like because that thing has got vines interwoven all over the place. And that's specifically my background being, part of this Ahmed side of the family, but also having my own, intricate background as well. But from our dad's side, our dad's name is nicknamed Senna, but his real name is Hassanein, so same last name as Ahmed. Um, he's the common denominator in the entire family, right? We all share the same dad. And so the family goes as this: there's 5 of us siblings. There's 2 of our older sisters. We have Aziza, who is about 6 years older than I am. No, she's gonna beat me up, but I think it's 6. She's really the foundation of the sibling group. She's the mother figure, the caretaker, the constant presence of love, and someone you can always count on. And then 1 year or a few years below her, but 1 year above me is my sister Gigi. She calls herself my twin. She is high energy. She has an amazing background. She was both of them were born to the same mother here in America, and unfortunately, she passed away from breast cancer. So a tragic, kind of upbringing and start for them, not having that. But we always had our dad who did his best to support and raise them. And so Gigi's background is really, she's the energy of the group, and she was so much that person that when she went back to Egypt after right in the beginning of her college years, she actually got involved in politics and was part of the Egyptian revolution. So she Ahmed's not the only famous one in the family. She spent her time in the limelight during that Egyptian revolution, and is actually graces the cover of Time magazine from that era. So just has her own story, her own journey to talk about, and it's just part of the big picture. And then I came around it a year after Ahmed. I'm the one off, the American son, and was raised by my mom here in America, and because of my dad predominantly being in Egypt at the time when I was growing up, I didn't have the closest relationship with that side of the family, and I was raised predominantly with, like I said, my mom's side of the family, and my late grandfather Randy Besch, who was my hero. He is the person who made me who I am today, and I give all the credit to who I am, to him and to God, of course. But really want to honor that relationship and his role in my life, because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here today, and Ahmed wouldn't be where he is today because of those lessons. And so then that's me. And then 14 years later, Ahmed was born. He is the jewel of the family as far as my dad is probably concerned, because he was the kid that my dad really got redemption with, right? He got to raise him hands-on, and it was a challenge for my father, who had his own tougher upbringing, was involved in business from the age of 14, making trips to China and being a businessman in a third world country, starting his own company, and being a foreign student when he was 18 while there's a war with Israel going on. So my dad has his own tough upbringing, and with my brother Ahmed, he gets his chance to finally, be the father he always wanted to be, and did an amazing job supporting him and raising him. And then Ibrahim is our youngest brother, a few years younger than Ahmed, not few, probably about 6 years younger than Ahmed, and is still in Egypt. He's the only one, unfortunately, without the American citizenship. And so we know that as a family, like, one of the goals for us, right, to continue to support and bring everyone in the family along is to make sure that whatever happens through Ahmed, through this journey, that Ibrahim, is supported in that family dynamic. So there's 5 of us siblings. There is a dad who has done his best to support all of us in some way or another, whether through the challenges of life. Everyone has challenges of life. Every family backstory has its issues, and no one is saying that this was a perfect go at it, or anybody is perfect. But I mean, part of the resiliency that's built into Ahmed is comes from this family dynamic and this upbringing of, no matter what happens to you, it's not what happens to you, it's what you make out of what happens to you. And we have been a family of, dusting ourselves off, getting right back up and getting after it, and loving each other through it. And so this journey that Ahmed is on, and kind of the reconciliation of the family is just another, testament to the love that we share, and what God has for us, and the impact that we can have on others.
I love it, man. It's a great story. And we had a guest on a couple of months ago, Juju Williams, that also talked about, facing issues. Everybody faces issues, whatever they are. Everyone has, something they're internally battling. And he left something with, I think, all of us, but especially me, that, people grow up to make mistakes and then make excuses, or they're going through something and they're making an excuse. Whereas instead of making an excuse, turn that into an opportunity. Take everything that you're challenging and turn it into an opportunity. So I love hearing, the family dynamic, and even though it's spread all over the world, literally, and you call it, a jungle, not a tree, because it's just interwoven all over the place. Yeah, it's got to be difficult to raise and be involved in every, son or daughter's life. But I'm glad to hear that how great you talk about your father, and the ability that he had with Ahmed to be able to grow into who he is today. So before we got started today, you mentioned a nickname. Give us the details here on Bud, the nickname for Ahmed.
Yeah, Bud is a cool name for multiple reasons. It's my wife's pet name for my brother. He had actually a large role in us, finally getting back together. We had our own ups and downs through our dating relationship, and when he came from Egypt and inserted himself directly in the middle of my life, my wife was forced. My then girlfriend turned fiance, now wife, was forced to basically integrate a 16-year-old young man, surrogate son, into our relationship. And there was challenges, but one of those challenges being, how do you pronounce a name that's from a different language, right, than what you're used to? And it could be Ahmed, it could be Ahmed, my Gigi, my sister, says it even better, and she reminded me when she was here, it's like, oh, I'm really still not saying it right. So my wife was like, man, I'm just gonna call him Bud, and that stuck for her. And Bud is a cool name. It's old fashioned, right? Like I talked about my late grandfather, Randy Besch. He actually went by Bud in high school. Like no one knew his name was Randy. He was Bud. And so it's a cool, kind of connection between those 2 points, 2 important, really important people in my life, and something that will probably stick with him forever from my side of the family. And especially from my wife, my son now, Judah, who just turned 1 year old. He calls him, he's going to call him Uncle Bud. I mean, that's what we refer to him as. Unless he comes out saying Uncle Ahmed, but that would be really impressive for his first words, right? Like Uncle Ahmed, or NFL star, or One Pride. If those are his first words, we're cooking with fire. But I think it's going to be Bud. And it is a really cool thing to kind of share and continue as he makes this next journey. Because when he showed up, he was a 16-year-old kid, and Bud is a cool, cute pet name, right? And now he's going to be an NFL football player, and it's like, okay, Bud, you did it.
Yeah, that's a great story, man. I love it. So now I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, and we'll have some questions from the chat this morning.
Sure.
Obviously, we'll get into some other questions, but this was a similar story to a former Detroit Lion. He didn't start playing. Ahmed didn't start playing football until he moved to the U.S. I believe that's correct, and please correct me where I'm wrong. My question is, how did he first get introduced to the sport, and what was the learning process like? Who were his biggest motivators and the valuable pieces in his life to steer him into a direction of, at that time, was the unknown, and not knowing anything about American football and spending all of this time in Egypt, which I want to, we'll come back to that. Explain it. How did it start?
Yeah. I mean, it started on a whim. It was never a plan, right? Football was never, I don't think, in Ahmed's future when he was in Egypt. He had done, I know this, everyone knows about his CrossFit background and the fact that he did judo and some other, martial art combative sports. He was looking for a community, right? A sense of purpose. Egypt, we'll talk more about Egypt and the culture in Egypt, but Americans understand that sports is a great way to learn life lessons, right? To get out there. I mean, shoot, if I wasn't in sports as a kid, who knows what my ADHD would have done, right? Like it's such a valuable thing for a young man and for a kid to learn those lessons, right? To learn resiliency and grit and all those things. But he had no clue about the game, right? He had no clue about American football. Egypt has an American football culture that is just now at its like birthing time, right? They've got a couple teams but you can't play until you're 18 years old, and so it's really like a nothing sport in Egypt at the time, and so he probably only saw football through a post that I might have put up during my playing career. But then again, he's in a different country who he can't translate the language of English yet. And so he doesn't really know much about anything. And when he shows up as a 16-year-old, he's playing at Loera High School, which is a non-sports powerhouse. We cared more a little bit more about developing players and people of character than it was about winning championships. Of course, that would be the goal, but there are greater things to be done with football than just win games. And that's what the mentality was when he came from the sport and for the team he played for and for the culture around the team that he played for. And so he has to learn on the fly immediately. He immediately gets to school right at the beginning of the school year, which is football season. We all know that fall is football season. And so he gets thrust straight into it. And we're in practices. He's got to wait a couple of days because we're already in pads, and he's got to go through that process of, putting the helmet on and then waiting a couple of days. Then he can go for pads. And so he basically was hands-on from the beginning, and I'm teaching him techniques in the kitchen, right? I'm teaching him about leverage with contextual clues, because at this point he's not understanding the language, and especially the technical terms around football, like line of scrimmage and face mask and all those things. Those don't translate to Arabic very easily. And so really just starting from the ground up with this is where you're going to stand, this is formation, all these things. And he's a smart dude, right? So he's able to kind of fit in. You're a 16-year-old kid, you're going to fit in pretty quick when you understand, like, this is how it's played, but all those little details, right? Like, what is a penalty, and how coach is not actually mad at you when he's yelling, he just wants you to do it right? Those are some of the things that he had to like understand, because being yelled at was a trigger for him when he first got here, right? He thought coach was like, his feelings were hurt, or that he made coach sad. He didn't want to let people down. So there was so much more than just the game and the technical parts of the game that he was learning. He was learning about the family dynamic that surrounds a football team, about the brotherhood, about how football depends on all 11 dudes doing their job. And that if one guy doesn't, everything's going to fail. And that was really the part of the game that he took to, right? He used football as his vehicle, right? To achieve his dreams. And you knew early that was going to be his thing. It was always going to be sports. Once he got to America and he said, okay, I'm going to play football for you, bro, it was 100%, right? There was no, withholding or like, tiptoeing into the water. It was, I'm going in the deep end. I'm going to go full speed, and I'm going to see, where I end up. And, we knew pretty quickly that he was taken to it like a fish to water. And within the realm of football in Southern California, there's very high and very low, and it's all kind of within a 20-mile radius. And so I didn't know what we had. I knew that what we had was bigger than anything we've ever had at Loera, And by his senior year, he wasn't even able to practice against his teammates because he was such a dominant force. He was literally going up against trash cans because, we don't have the personnel, whether that's two dudes or three dudes, to block him, right? And I need this scout team rep to get off. So please don't kill me while I work on the rest of our defense. And so, things like that. There are a few very influential people in his life, one being Mitch Olson, the head coach of Loera High School at the time, really a father figure to me as a young coach and a mentor to me. I knew that he was going to fill a huge role for Ahmed when he came because I couldn't do it myself, right? I'm a brother, I'm a coach, but I'm not, perfect either. And I knew that we were going to have to build a relationship together, me and Ahmed, and that having a man that you could trust to steer us in the right direction, to lead us both, through that journey as brothers. So Mitch Olson gets a ton of credit for the lessons and the love that he instilled in Ahmed. And my best friend, Jonathan Rangel, the defensive coordinator at the time at Loera, really a great football mind, and was able to take Ahmed's raw physicality and isolate it and expand it and grow it and turn it into, somebody who got a Division I scholarship out of a Division 14 CIF football school. Like, that's the lowest of the divisions. I can't tell you the last time a guy from Loera High School got a Division I scholarship. So there were definitely influential people, all the teachers at Loera who accepted him, and counselors who helped get him into the ESL classes, and teammates who set those expectations high and set the culture correctly. So he knew when he was a sophomore and a junior, he said, this is what it means to be a football player. This is what it means to do it with everything that you have. And the emotion at the end of his sophomore and junior year, when he's, literally bawling his eyes out because he's going to miss the relationships with those upperclassmen, that the team is never going to be the same. That's kind of who he is as a person, his emotionality, and his passion, conviction for his teammates and for his brothers that hasn't changed throughout his entire football career. So that's how he gets into it. And it's all because that's, where God had me in my journey, right? I played football growing up throughout childhood, and then into high school and college, and then right into coaching. And I knew that those lessons were going to be, like I said, the vehicle that was going to help Ahmed, get out of that situation in Egypt and take his life wherever he wanted to steer it.
I love it, man. There is so much information to take away from that. Eric has a follow-up question for you.
Sure. So what were the biggest hurdles that Bud faced while learning football, and how did he overcome them? Was it the language barrier, a cultural barrier? What kind of barriers did he have to break through?
Yeah, I mean, all of the above, really. Like, I think the hardest might have been the language and just like the expectations of what it means to be a football player. The like I said, there are terms in football that don't translate easily, right? Understanding leverage and getting lower than a person, and it's hard to say, right? But thank goodness for Ahmed, right? He has a background in physical sports, right? So if I'm talking about leverage and he's hearing the word leverage, and I'm showing him in the kitchen how I'm getting lower than him and pushing him, he can connect those two terms. And pursuit. Okay, what does pursuit mean? I don't know, but chase a guy, right? And maybe a pursuit angle. I don't understand what a pursuit angle is, but if I stand here and I point, should I go this way to get him or should I go that way? And it's simple, right? Very direct coaching, very direct teaching, and being a teacher and being able to break things down into more simpler, digestible pieces was huge for us in our relationship, in the communication, in the coaching, in the rules, right? Like, okay, don't grab here. Anywhere else you want to grab is good, right? We're good to go, but nothing here, okay? You can't trip a guy. You can't kick them, okay? Use your arms, but everything else is fair game. And it's like, okay, I can do stuff like that. So in the beginning, it's very simple concepts. And then as he grows and develops as a player, as his language develops, right? As his understanding of the game develops, we can get into a little more complex and shoot. I mean, he is like a sponge. And that's one thing that you guys in Detroit, and we're going to talk about his pro potential. But I think what people forget is like, you don't come from Egypt and in 5 years become a Division I football player if you're not coachable, if you're not able to develop as a person, as a player, to absorb things. I mean, he learned the language from, I mean, he might have had some English background, like still residual left over from when he was 5, right? But predominantly didn't speak English. He was speaking English within like 3 months of arriving, right? Not, I mean, it was broken, right? And there were terms that were definitely wrong, but enough that you could comprehend and he can communicate. And now, I mean, he's finishing his college degree. How many people in America have a college degree? Like, it's not the majority, or maybe it is, but not everyone had to learn a different language twice, right? And go back and forth and have to do that transition in the middle of high school while trying to play a sport and then become a Division I athlete in the middle of a pandemic, right? There's so many challenges that this kid overcame. It just like is a testament to who he is and how dang committed he is when he chooses to do something.
So there's a lot again to unwrap with that, and you mentioned a couple of things. One, look, this team in Detroit is all about resiliency and overcoming, adapting, doing everything that you need to do, playing unselfishly, playing for the guy to your left and right, doing your job. But you mentioned the pandemic, and I can't speak to this enough, that a lot of players that kind of came out in 2021, 2022 kind of missed a whole opportunity to be with their team, to get that one-on-one and in practice in pads together. A lot of stuff was over Zoom. And so he had to navigate those waters, right? You're now in a country that has this crazy lockdown pandemic going on. You're just trying to learn the American language, culture, and play football. And so overcoming that is huge. He speaks, his I guess, the history of Ahmed, it speaks to resiliency and him being able to overcome and adapt to anything. So Riley has a follow-up question for you next. Go ahead, Riley.
Yeah, I'm loving this, Cory. This is great. I appreciate your answers, and I see exactly what Will's saying with you being well-spoken. When did you first realize that Ahmed could play in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, there's the honest, true answer, which sounds crazy, and then there's like the one that's good for media. The real answer is I always believed, to be honest. Like it sounds unrealistic, but every kid grows up with a dream, right? Like, oh, I want to play in the NFL. And obviously, right, like it sounds silly coming from me now, but there was a time in my life where I was like, I think I might be able to make it. I was a pretty dang good athlete. And I've had people tell me, like, Cory, you were actually the best athlete I had ever met, and if you would only have been 3 inches taller, if you would have only been, 5'10", and I always say like, yeah, but then I wouldn't have like the quickness or the, same attributes, but they would tell me like, you could do it. Now, our dad, he's probably in the chat right now, was a world-class soccer player, right? Like,
Wow.
like legit in Egypt. Okay. Played for like the country's national team at some level. Okay. And that came very natural to me. I mean, whatever sport I played when I was young, I picked it up like this. And so when I felt the call in my heart to bring Ahmed from Egypt and let him play football, there was a part of me that said maybe he could be that guy, right? Because if what held me back was my height, right? And he's 6 something, he's got everything that they look for at that side, right? Like if the intangibles are the same, if the athleticism is the same, if his drive and his resiliency and all those things, his grit are the same as what I had, I always played with a chip on my shoulder to prove to people that the little kid can do it. I was 4'10" my freshman year, right? And I went to Servite, a prep school. By the end of that year, the last game I had like 80 yards rushing and a touchdown, and the head coach came to me and said I should have started you, way back when. He overlooked me. So that part of me that wanted to prove people wrong was always there. And I knew that if Ahmed had that, he could make it. I knew he could make it. And I always believed. I told him, like, I'm going to be tough on you. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to, beat around the bush. It is extremely difficult, almost impossible for you to make it. But is it impossible? No, right? And if you don't believe yourself, then who's going to, right? Who, if you're not the person who believes you can achieve it, then there's not going to be anybody else who's going to believe. So I was the person who was constantly standing behind him and in his corner and saying, it's going to take a lot of work, but I do believe in you, bro. And I do believe you have a calling and a bit greater purpose. And did I know it was going to lead to the NFL? Did I know for sure that it was going to be a Division I scholarship? Of course not. I mean, how could you, right? But did I believe that it was possible? I did. And then seeing how God reaffirmed that conviction and that belief in me and in him and in our relationship, how the trust just continued to grow. And it was a, mutual relationship. He had to trust me. He didn't know anything about football. He didn't know anything about college dynamics or the level of what the difference between the Mountain West and the SEC is. He barely even knew the difference between the NFL and high school, right? And how that there's a difference in levels, right? He looked at Aaron Donald on the TV and said, "What high school does he go to?" Buddy, that's the LA Rams, my guy. Like, not every high school is on TV, okay? And if there's a high schooler that looks like Aaron Donald, goodness gracious, get me out of that division, okay? But like he had to trust the process. And as we went to every step of the road, right? Like on to Boise State, then on to the next level, it's like he's understanding that like this is maybe bigger than him. And when he got to Boise State and he's got some reps, and his coaches came up to me and told me, like, your brother has a future playing this game. They didn't owe it to me to say that. And they had seen more NFL football players than I had, more Division I caliber dudes than I had. And so that reaffirmed my belief. And that's when I knew, like, okay, he really can do it. And his junior year, when he broke out with 12 and a half sacks, and I was like, confirmation. He is that guy. And then when he gets drafted it's everything that, if I could have written it down, I would have looked crazy, but today I would look prophetic, to be honest.
It's awesome, man. And obviously all things are possible when, you put timeless amounts of energy into it and believe, in the higher calling for yourself and what's in store for you. Let me go through a few things here about his time at Boise. And I obviously, in the background, I was kind of chuckling when you said he asked who that, what high school did Aaron Donald play for, like that. That is enough to tell people that there was such a divide between where he was coming from in Egypt and not understanding, to your point, the levels, high school, college, NFL, and I mean, not even talking about the Canadian football leagues or the European leagues or anything else, right? But that's insane to me to believe that he just didn't grasp that yet. And in 4 or 5 short years, he's now entering an NFL team. Career honors: Jason Witten, Collegiate Man of the Year finalist in 24. College Football Network honorable mention All-America in 24. 2 times All-Mountain West first team, 23 and 24. Phil Steele, All-Mountain West second team, 24. College Sports Communicators second team, Academic All-America, 2023. The National Football Foundation Hampshire Honor Society, 24-25. Obviously speaking to the fact that Ahmed is not just a great football player, probably a pretty smart cookie too. 2 times College Sports Communicators Academic All District, 22 and 23. 4 times Academic All Mountain West, 21, 22, 23, 24. 2 times Mountain West Scholar Athlete, 21, 22, and 22 to 23. Obviously, Ahmed has it on the field, off the field, in the meeting room, right? He's so fun to watch when he talks. I mean, I listened to him on the Rich Eisen show, and you can just tell he's just glowing, right? He's so excited watching him at the combine, and I'm watching this guy bark back, at the coaches that are trying to, get these guys ready to do these drills. And I'm like, man, that reminds me of like Braden Fisk the year before. He's running down the 40 and he's screaming, yes, 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 or whatever he was screaming at the time. Those guys, that do that kind of stuff, they're built different. They have a different mentality, and it's fun, right? It's fun to them. That's the difference about working in a dead-end job or doing something that you truly love. In his senior year, statistics for him: 17 quarterback hits, 62 total pressures, 15 and a half tackles for loss, which, by the way, tied for 17th throughout the entire FBS, 9.5 sacks, third in the Mountain West, 16th throughout the country, 24 career sacks, fourth in Boise program history. He didn't just play well, right? He was resetting the definition of what it meant to be a defensive end for Boise. He was also stacking what he was doing throughout the FBS level, right? All of the NC2A colleges, and showing that he could do it. Up against some of the better competition, throughout the NCAA that he went up against. He had, some pretty solid football games. Let me get into the next question here. And I guess, I would love to know more about what Ahmed is like when he's not playing football, and, any hobbies or interests in that. I'm going to come back to that one, because where I want to pivot to real quick is draft day. What was draft day like for your family? Everyone, of course, have watched, the reaction on TV. But the reason why I'm asking about what is he like, when he's not playing football, or the hobbies and interest, I'm also interested to know, what did he, or how did he react to being selected by a Super Bowl contender in the Detroit Lions? And now he's going to play for one of the best and most polarizing coaches in the NFL, in Dan Campbell. But I'd like to know what the reaction was in the conversation when the cameras went away. What was it like in the room for Ahmed that day and the family?
I mean, it was surreal. I don't know if it still has hit me yet. I was scared. I was promising myself I'm going to cry, right? I know I'm going to cry. And then I don't cry. And I'm like, what is happening? Because I was sent directly into prayer immediately after I get the call, after he gets the call, because God laughed in my face with the whole day. We were sitting there anxious as heck, right? Worried about when he's going to get picked, and on the couch for 4 hours. And Ahmed, for as new as he is to the game, right? And to the point earlier, not understanding the levels of college, right? I don't know if he's a huge NFL football fan, right? So he's just wants to make it, and whatever team's going to get him is going to get everything from him. He wants, and this is what I told one team that contacted me in the pre-draft process. I said, something you don't understand about Ahmed is that when there is a sign that someone believes in him, it means more to him than probably to any other prospect. Why? Because of his background, right? When you're told you can't do it, when you're told you're going to fail, when there's a ton of doubters, the believers, the supporters, they stand out even further. And so when he first came from Egypt, people were telling him, you're going to be back in 2 weeks. You can't even speak English, right? When he's at Loera, you can't get a Division I scholarship, right? When he's at Boise State, you're in the Mountain West, you can't make it to the NFL. So he's constantly proving people wrong. And he's like, all I need is someone to believe in me, and they're going to get everything. So he's wondering, what team is that going to be? Now, I have a very good understanding of NFL culture and NFL football teams, and the places you would like to be and the places you might not want to be. The people in the organizations that have continued success and are built on the right type of, foundation, or the ones that are constantly failing for who knows what reason, right? And as much as I wanted him to achieve his NFL dream, I know, just like when he went to Boise State instead of Duke or Kansas or some of these other schools, that it's not, when you go, it's where you go, right? It's more important about the fit than it is about anything else, because that is going to be your future. And I wasn't sure what team that was going to be completely honest. But in my heart, I knew that there was no better team than the Detroit Lions. And I'm telling him this. I said, man, it would be amazing. And I was even talking to his roommate, Mason Randolph, who's the center at Boise State. We're in the kitchen, and man, I just have a feeling it's going to be the Lions. And he goes, there would not be a better team. Dan Campbell, right? Get to practice against Penei Sewell. Like that would be an amazing experience. Okay. But you never know. There's 32 NFL teams. So we get to draft time, and the 4th round comes, and then the 5th round comes, and Detroit doesn't have a pick in the 5th round. And I'm thinking, like, Is he going to last? Maybe it's not going to be the Lions. And by the time the 6th round comes and they had traded, up, and then it was the 20th pick that they had coming up, we were stressed, exhausted. He is now starting to doubt. I think one of the reporters in the room mentioned something like, well, James Harrison went undrafted. And I literally I was like, well, that's cool, but it ain't happening, brother. like we're not putting that energy into this room, right? Because I knew it was going to happen. It was just only going to happen at one moment, right? I'm over here stressing the entire day about, where's he going to go? When's he going to get picked? But there's only ever going to be the time that he gets picked. Not too early, not too late. It's only one moment. And I'm over here stressing, when is that moment going to be? And finally, I give it up to the Lord. I said, God, you know what team needs him, and you know exactly where he's supposed to be. And as soon as that final word came out of my mouth, he hits me on the leg, which was the sign for somebody's on the phone. I sneaked a little peek at the scene, and it said something about Michigan, and I almost lost it. That's when I said, you'll see me in some of those viral videos, and I'm just that, talking to myself, talking to the Lord, thanking Jesus for confirming in me, right, what he had told me all along, and that it was the perfect spot for Ahmed to land, because it could not think of a better fit culture-wise, coach-wise, development-wise, community-wise than the city of Detroit, right? This is a place where he's going to get to grow and continue to be a man of character. You're going to see that is who he is. He's an enthusiastic, loving, compassionate, passionate dude. And it comes across on the field. It comes across in his interactions with everyone that comes in contact with him. And the day and after we get off the media stuff with the Detroit media, and he then proposes to his fiance, right? And makes the day about her, and shares in his, the biggest day of his life. He ends up deciding to share that with his most important person. And that is just another testament to who he is, right? And he was getting comments like, what are you doing? Like, why are you making this about somebody else? This is your day. But it's never been just about him, right? It's always been about his teammates, his community, right? Everyone that's helped him along the way. And so that's kind of what it was. Now, I got to be excited to tell him a little bit more about Detroit, right? To show him some of those Hard Knocks episodes from a couple years ago and be like, this is what you get to go into, right? This is the culture that you're going to, and it matches what we tried to set up at Loera. It matches what Spencer Danielson is doing at Boise State. And I think it's probably the number one, destination for culture in the NFL if you talk to the players. And I think there's no guy that they would rather play for than Dan Campbell, because he is such a player's coach, because he's been there, because he's done it, and he'll tell you really like the truth, and he'll love you through it. And I think that's something that for Ahmed is an invaluable coaching attribute, and I think it's going to be something that's going to help his development and his ascension to wherever he's going to end up.
Look, man, this is good stuff, and I just have to say that Michael Garrity, one of our members, been a long time listener to the channel, just says, this has me in tears. It's amazing. When you listen to the story, like I've said from the very beginning, I'm all about stories, right? We have our own story to write as we navigate through life. And there's certain stories that I like to bring into this channel because, like I've emphasized, and I mentioned to you before the show, I'm a cancer survivor that's trying to give back and help other cancer survivors. And this show is, it's all about being a fan, but it's also about putting other people first. And what you just mentioned about Ahmed on his most glorious day, all this hard work, 5 years of learning and blood, sweat, and tears, and he turns to his soon-to-be wife and makes the day about her. Putting other people first. That's powerful stuff. And I think that we're all beginning to learn a little bit more every day about who his character is, what he's all about. But I'd say we're just scratching the surface as fans. And what you're telling us, I'm sure you could talk for days on end about who he's going to be, who he is, and you could probably write the story for him. We're so excited to see where this goes, and the culture, the identity of being a Detroit Lion. There's very select football players that can end up in Detroit now. Now, that's not who we used to be, right? When you were talking earlier about, the teams with sustained success, that was not us. but that is who we are now because we have the right people, the right coaches, the right mentality, the right culture, the grit. I mean, the energy, you name it, it's there. Ahmed is going to fit perfectly inside of this situation. Eric has a follow-up question for you.
Sure. So the Lions are known for their gritty, hard-working mentality. How has your family's background shaped Ahmed's work ethic and determination? And how do you think Ahmed fits into that culture? And also, I think the NFL and the Detroit Lions need to pick up Egypt as one of their foreign territories for the NFL.
Hmm.
Yeah, I multiple part question, but how is the family dynamic and our background, help develop Ahmed's resiliency? It's built in, man. I mean, from our dad down, right? Like my dad, you know, was a businessman at 14, right? Starting his own company at 18, going to school, doing everything in his power to be successful, right? And I can guarantee you that is not easy. Um it's it's a testament to who he is and how he knew he could provide for that for us. And every one of us has trials and tribulations in our backstory, right? From my older sisters and losing their mom, in their preteen years and having to go through that, like they didn't let that, stop them from becoming amazing people, right? My sister, literally lived through a revolution right in the middle of it, and suffers, some of the trauma and the things that she saw, um will be with her forever, right? And she has that fight in her and will always have that fight in her. But has since started her own company and is thriving in Egypt. And um myself, right? Like being told no a million times, you're too small, right? I became a dad at a really young age and went through the hardest challenge of my entire life while I was still trying to compete and play college football and work and help, you know, be a parent as well as I could. But I was struggling and not doing that well. And to kind of feel like that redemption comes back around when you get another chance to, coach the next generation and help raise your younger brother and do those types of things. And so Ahmed was built for it, right? He it was built into him. It was part of his um his background. And Egypt is a third world country, and don't get it wrong. Like Egypt is 150 million people crammed into a place with not a lot of opportunity. And his backstory is full of trauma, it's full of trials, it's full of hurts, and not because of, any purposeful reason, or we make, like you said, bad things happen in life, and it's what you make of it. And so he looked at that opportunity to get out of Egypt as a opportunity to take control of his own life, to take control of his own destiny. And so when he came here, there was nothing that seemed impossible. There was nothing that was going to stop him, that as far as he was able to control, right? And that, I think, has been something that has worked as a benefit for him. You hear about, this very alternative trajectory to get to the NFL, and no one's ever done it from Egypt, and it's only been playing for 5 years. And I think some people forget that, like, that passion you feel when something is new, right? When something is fresh, that something is something that we all felt maybe when we first played sports as a kid. But if you can feel that desire, that commitment, that conviction to do something, and you have the tools to do it because you're 16, 17, you have the physical capabilities, it's a superpower. It's a hidden motivation that maybe the kid who grew up in Pop Warner is burnt out of, right? Doesn't have the love for the game, like the understanding that, like, this is the first time I've ever got to sacrifice for the guy next to me, right? Like that relationship is different when you're a 16-year-old kid from a foreign country. Your teammate, who is now your best friend, is your only friend right, is your only person who you can go to the gym with, who can hear you out on your relationship issues, who fills 15 different roles. That connection is deeper. And it's like those things that might have been a disadvantage, Ahmed turned into a motivation, into an advantage, into something that propelled him to greatness. And I think we sometimes take those things for granted because we're from America, right? Because we've had all these opportunities, because we can choose to do almost anything we want without restrictions, to believe whatever we want without restrictions. That is not the same throughout the entire world. And Ahmed experienced that. He knew what it's like to go through those challenges and have limitations. And so when he gets to take control, he's going to use it for good and take complete control and complete conviction.
Man, it just keeps getting better and better. So I want to throw out a name many of us Detroit Lions fans will remember, and that's Ezekiel Ansah. If you're not familiar with him, here's a quick story about him. Literally about 10 words. He didn't start playing football until BYU college. That was his first introduction to football. And in coming from, I believe it was Africa, I think is where, or Nigeria is where he came from. He didn't spend a lot of time. He was very raw. Drafted by the Lions 3 years later. So 3 years playing football. That is the story that when I listen to this story about Ahmed, I'm thinking, man, Ezekiel Ansah not only did it, but he also became a pretty darn good football player. So it can be done. I'm expecting Ahmed to be better, right? I'm expecting to have, to watch him rise to the greatness that you speak of at the NFL level. It's not going to be easy. Nothing's easy, but you know what? Nothing's been easy for him this far. And I think that when you start stacking those chips in wins, win after win after win, every battle that he's had to go through, and then to you speaking about, the differences between Americans and other, countries, especially third world countries that don't have enough opportunity or any opportunity. And then you come here and it's like, man, this just seems like it's too easy. Everyone has all of this stuff and they can do all of these things, but it wasn't easy for him. He had to find his place. He had to root himself and learn a language and develop relationships. And so Brent Lighton in the chat had a question, for you. He said to kind of tell the story about how you earned Ahmed's trust when you first brought him back to America. How did you develop that trust with him?
Yeah, I mean, that is a unique thing because most brothers they grow up together, right? And that relationship, that bond is built in. And although I was around, infrequently when he was young, and there's pictures of us, we grew distant, right? In those 10 years where he was in Egypt. And so and then with the quickness that he came, we proposed the idea to our father and say, hey, why doesn't he come, live with me and play football for me? And it was so quick and so matter of fact, and there wasn't a ton of like depth to it that when he got there, he wasn't sure what my motivation was, right? And our dad was supporting us through that time, financially helping us, pay for the rent of where we were living and help pay for food. And so there was what seemed like a financial incentive, right? Like maybe my brother Cory is just having me here so that dad will help support, for his rent or whatever. And of course that wasn't the case, but I had known that for the past 6 years prior, I had dedicated everything that I had to the next generation through football. Coaching at Loera, like I said before, is not necessarily to win championships, but it's to develop young men and that are going to be great fathers, right? That are going to be great citizens, great employees, great bosses, great people, because, high school ends for everyone. Football careers end for everyone, but what you can instill, what you can do in that role as a mentor, as a father figure, right, is invaluable. I had it in my grandpa, right? When my dad was in Egypt and he did everything he could to support me. But when you're on the other side of the world, it's tough, right? And so I needed somebody to be there. And that was my grandpa, who filled 15 different roles for me, right? Including coach and teacher and all those things. if I could fill 5 of those for my brother, right, then I was going to be willing to do it. Now, it was hard for him to believe that. And it's hard for me to communicate that when he doesn't speak English fluently. So there were times where there are tears in both of our eyes, and I'm having to plead to him to trust me that I truly do love him, that I truly am committed to him, that I do believe in him, and that I will support him with everything that I could do. But for a kid that hasn't had that belief, that hasn't had that relationship, that doesn't quite know where he fits and has trauma with other relationships in his life, it's easy to hear that. It's a lot harder to accept it. But one thing that I give credit to my brother for more than anything is he is raw and real when it comes to emotions. He has no problem communicating when something bothers him or when he needs something, the way he's feeling. And I wasn't good at that when he got here. That is something he opened up in me, that made me a better person and helped my development as a human being and as a brother and as a husband and as a father and all these other ways. It's like that relationship, that bond that we had to rediscover and redevelop, and that trust that we had to build from little things like, I'm not yelling at you to pick up your dishes or do your laundry. I'm telling you that this is something you need to do to be a man, and we don't need to argue about it. I'm just telling you this is what it takes, right? To, bro, trust me, you're going to get a scholarship. You are that guy. I know you're that guy, but they just haven't found you yet, but they will. And I don't have a guarantee that that's going to happen, right? There are so many of those times where he had to truly believe that I was in it for the right reasons, that I was that we were on that path together, and that wherever we were going to go, I had his back. And when God came through time and time and time again, it deepened our relationship, it deepened our faith, it deepened our trust. And now, I mean, we wouldn't go through this journey without each other. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be dropping him off at the airport in 2 hours so he can get his butt over there to you boys in Detroit. And I'm going to be there every step of the way, as you know, as long as I'm able and God is willing.
Man, I love it. We're going to try to cram in a couple of more. It sounds like
Yeah.
you got to get going here soon. So Riley has
no.
a really good follow-up for you on all of that. Now, this is a long question, but
Sure.
we're going to try to wrap up some of this stuff because I think there's more to this. Riley, go for it.
Yeah, I just think of, my first thought with Ahmed was he's on the phone with Coach Campbell and he tells him, I'll die for you. And that's all cliche stuff that sounds good, but you felt it, man. You believed it when he said it. I don't know how, but it's like, it's in you. Like you really felt it. Is there anything in the Egyptian culture for Ahmed that may have been, that he may have been exposed to while living in Egypt, that speaks to his work ethic, his toughness, his positive attitude, and that ready to die on the field mentality? And if you could, Cory, please explain anything you can here and point out any cultural or learned behaviors that make Ahmed so special.
Yeah, I think it's not specifically the Egyptian culture. I mean, it is, right? Egyptians are a resilient bunch, right? They've been through wars. I mean, shoot, they have one of the 7 wonders of the world, right? And it's the one that's probably the oldest, and it's a testament to their staying power. And um while the world has changed around them, right? They've remained, true to their core. And I think that's kind of what Ahmed and the Egyptian people are. We are fighters, right? We are grinders. We are a committed, convicted people that will truly give everything to the cause. And it's seen in the way my dad did business. It's seen in the way my sister was in the revolution. It's seen in the way I, coach and speak about those that I love and care about. And for Ahmed, like it was part of the oppression that is a third world country and breaking free of that, right? It's part of the trauma that he experienced in interpersonal relationships and having people absent from significant roles in his life. It's, the part channeling the aggression that might have been a detriment to him in younger years, but is now a tool to use on a football field, right? Um, that is not by accident. And then when you take his faith into account, and his journey in his faith, and his conviction in his faith and what he believes, um, he does everything 110%. And that's a cliche way to say it, but for him it is true, right? There was no reserve when he came from Egypt. There was no background, story. There was no plan B. I remember even one time telling him, like, in those early days, like, if you're not going to listen to me, if you're not going to, respect me, like, bro, maybe you're going to go back. Like, maybe this isn't going to work out. And he took that probably with the most offense I've ever seen him take a statement. And he said, bro, you don't ever threaten me with something like that again, because I'm not going back. And I think that is his, like, his commitment to moving forward, to determining his own outcome, and whether that's, dying on the field, or playing with every single thing that he has, every fiber of his being. That is what he does. That is who he is. It's not only in football. It's not only because it's the Detroit Lions. It's not a specific moment. It's who he is. It's all the time, not some of the time. And I think that's part of our Egyptian heritage. It's part of our family background, and it's really part of Ahmed and his faith and who he is as a person. And it's unique. It's not something you're going to see in every athlete. It's not something you're going to see in every person. And it's something that is a testament to who he is, for sure.
So we've had a few comments. I mean, a lot of comments coming in today. And Dwayne Keene said, big thank you to you, Cory, for sharing this story about your brother and how he is and will have a big impact on our team, the Detroit Lions. So he says, much love and respect to you and your family. All grit, never back down, and says thank you. And there's been a ton of comments like that in today's chat, where everyone is really appreciative, of the story and the journey, right? And learning a lot more about who you are as a family, and who Ahmed is as a player. You made a point on another show, I couldn't remember if it was Crunch Time or Woodward, that Ahmed may be able to fill a role on this team in the wake of Darius Smith's release. And you said if the coach trusts Ahmed to do it, he will do it. Not many people understand the trust factor for a coach, whether it's high school, college, or even the NFL, and what it really takes to play on Sundays. And I guess give us some reasons why Dan Campbell should trust Ahmed, and why Ahmed will earn that trust, I guess, from your purview and what you've witnessed so far. I mean, I couldn't see why Dan wouldn't be able to develop the trust, but it is such a big thing in the NFL to trust these guys to play within a scheme, right? You don't want to, you don't want to color outside of the lines. So kind of walk us through that a little bit, and why, when presented with that question, you answered it the way you did.
Yeah, I think obviously NFL coaches have earned their stripes, right? They are there for a reason. And they are the best, determiner of talent, of mentality, of if the job can get done, the way it needs to be done. And so I obviously I'm not an NFL coach. I would love to be, right? And I have coached my fair share of football, but every level has its intricate details. And one thing I know, though, is who Ahmed is. He is a quick learner who is going to do every single thing in his power to be successful. And I'm not saying, right, I'm very careful not to put unneeded pressure and expectations on him, because I mean, Lord knows there's enough, right? Transitioning into the NFL from college. For every single rookie, they feel this, right? Let alone a dude who's been playing, a limited number of years. I saw a comment the other day on one of those other shows, and it said something like, Ahmed's going to learn the difference between a college tackle and an NFL tackle. Well, I mean, doesn't every rookie learn the difference between a college tackle and an NFL tackle. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's happening for every one of them, right? Josh Cornerly Jr., the tackle for Oregon, gave up 1 sack this year, drafted in the first round. He's an NFL tackle, right? You know who that sack was to? To Ahmed, right? So it's like it's gonna be a challenge for every single rookie, right? Whether you play quarterback, whether you play end, whether you play whatever. And every rookie has to develop the trust of their coach. And that doesn't come in one day. It doesn't come in one rep. It doesn't come for the first pick in the draft, right? Cam Ward is going to have to develop the trust of his coach, let alone, the 6th rounder. And so many people get caught up on where and when and what role can a 6th rounder play. And it's like that's not for us to determine as fans, right? It's for us to understand that, like, this is a business. This is how it works, right? Like, people they can't all go in the first round. There's a system to this, but that doesn't mean that somebody's potential is limited, right? Ahmed got picked at 196. Who got picked at 199? Tom Brady, right? Like Amon-Ra talks about getting picked in the 4th. Well, when I pick him in fantasy, he's a first rounder, right? That those things don't matter, right? And so it's like I know what does matter, that you gain the trust of your coach, which comes from understanding that you're going to be consistent. I think that is the number one thing I told Ahmed when he got to Boise State. I said, we know you can do it, but they want to see you do it every time. I remember when I was in college, we would grade ourselves. And even if a play, and I was a receiver, right? So I'm blocking on the backside of a play, and the coach would give me a negative if I didn't take a good angle to get underneath the safety for in case that run came back across the field, right? And so it's like, I'm grading myself on the finest details. And the play is not even referring to me, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I told Ahmed, I said, you can do the right thing 50% of the time, and that's cool, but they want and make a play. But if you're doing the wrong thing the other 50% of the time, right? It doesn't matter if you make the play or you don't. I'd rather you do the right thing 90% of the time, right? And lead somebody else into the play, because I know I can count on that. And he understood that after a while. He says, and that's why he plays within the scheme. It's not, about me. It's about we. And I think when a coach trusts that that's your mentality, right? And this is why the Detroit Lions get credit for drafting Dan Campbell guys, Brad Holmes guys, right? Like those dudes that fit this pattern that we've seen in the last couple of years from Detroit and their draft strategy. It's like, if I can know before he steps into the door what this dude's makeup is, right? What makes him go, then I can coach the X's and O's, right? I can develop him. I can make sure that the techniques are Detroit Lions techniques, that they fit in our scheme, but I don't ever have to worry about those intangible things. That is something that I think that Ahmed is going to check right away, right? He might have already checked it through the pre-draft process. You know exactly what you're getting. You're going to get a guy who will do whatever role is asked of him, right? Like I said before, if that's special teams, if it's a rotational guy, if it's a situational player, shoot, if it's getting coffee for the coaches in the morning, he'll do it. I promise you. Like, it's whatever role is asked, that's going to be who he is. And that's not like in a goody two shoes, teacher's pet type of way, but this is who I am through and through, right? I want to be the best football player I can be. He doesn't care that he came from the 6th round. He is just happy for the opportunity. And the sky is truly the limit for his physical football playing characteristics. I hate to like remind people, but like, dude, you don't make the NFL in 6 years if you're not that type of guy. And you think that NFL, GMs and coaches are betting on a story. It's not about the story. They don't care about the story at the end of the day. They care that he could do the job on the football field. And I promise you, he can do the damn job on the football field. Now, it's going to take a transition. It's going to take time, like I said, that every rookie has to go through. But when he understands the scheme, when he understands the expectations, when he understands the role that whatever that is that the coaches have for him, he's going to do it to the best of his ability. And then when those coaches determine what that they now trust him, that he is consistent, that he is going to do exactly what's asked of him. And I don't know when that's going to be. I believe it could be sooner than later. I think that Ahmed's not going to let that opportunity go to waste. And I think that when coaches, I know that's how it's been for me as a coach, right? His college coaches, that when they see that, there's no going back, right? Like, why would we not continue forward and press the envelope and see really how great can you be? How, what are the highest heights? And I think that that Ahmed is going to surprise people with his transition. I think that maybe some of those older habits or bad habits that some other prospects might have from playing a lot of football won't be there. And I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised at the football player who's going to be showing up in Detroit today.
Man, I am super, super, super excited, and I don't doubt for a minute, anything that you've given us this morning. So I'm going to kind of recap a couple of things that you just mentioned. The welcome to the NFL moment, right? That is what all rookies are going to be going through, during rookie minicamp, OTAs, training camp. They're going to have it. They're going to have days that they're not doing well. They're going to have days that they're just flat out gas. They're going to have days where they're getting their butt kicked. Then they're going to have days that they're winning. And to your point, and to Ahmed's story, right, so far and what we've learned, it sounds like no matter what he's going through, he's not going to give up. No matter what he's going through, he's going to ingest it, learn from it, and try to get better from it. And I have to say, Cory, I don't know Ahmed from Adam or you or anybody else, but to have somebody, and I don't know if anyone's told you this yet, but to have somebody like you that has taken Ahmed in and helped him develop and been by his side and helped, teach him the things that he needed to learn, coming back to America in football and putting him in front of the opportunities, but just being that trusted confidant and the person that he could come to no matter what. You never failed him. Like, man, does he owe you the world for being that individual? But you're his brother, and you'd probably do it 10 times again. Yeah. Having people like that in your life is so valuable. It's invaluable. Like, you can't put a price on it. So I'm going to say thank you for Ahmed, because what you've shared with us and the story that we've learned, I think that everybody would benefit from having a Cory in their life. Absolutely. So I appreciate the heck out of you for that. The transition.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, man. I just quickly thank you for that. Yeah. I just want to, it's not me, to be honest. Like, and I gotta, I get tears in my eyes because I just feel humbled, man, to be able to fill this role for him and to be used by God. It's part of my testimony, right? If I didn't have those people in my life, my grandpa, to be that role model, right, then I'm not here today, and I'm not that sacrificial person who knows how to be the brother who always believes, and I just give all glory to Jesus, and I'm so grateful and humbled to be able to be here today, to be able to have a platform to talk about my brother and the love that we share and the love that Jesus has for all of us, and how he can redeem your life, man, and how that little kid who had NFL dreams got to achieve them, in a third party sense. But man, I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't want to be the dude that, coming to Detroit today, because it's that role's set for my brother. And I'm just so grateful for the role I've been able to play and can continue to play, and how, whatever that looks like moving forward, man, it's just, I am eternally grateful for that opportunity to help, not just get him to the NFL, but like to help him become this loving, caring, compassionate, like just hell of a dude, like just a dude in all senses of the word, just a great person. And that is truly what I am most proud about, right? Like, his NFL career will come to an end someday, but he is never going to stop being a Med. And that is something I'm most proud about.
It's all very touching, and I understand the tears. They call me the Barbara Walters of football interviews for a reason.
Yeah, you got me, bro.
So the transition, right? 2 years for Ahmed. It's they expect the biggest jump by year 2. Look, we're not saying that he's going to hit the ground this year and have 10 sacks and be this amazing football player, but what we're expecting is he's going to be consistent, like you mentioned. I'm not going to name names of former football players, but we've had, guys that flash in the pan And yeah, they may get a couple of sacks in a game, or, 7 or 8 in 8 games. And then they kind of wash out because they weren't consistent and they were flashy, too much flashiness and not consistent. I always preach the hive defense, and it's, the worker bees, right? A beehive. They all work together for one common goal, right? Create bees, make honey, right? That's what they do, collect pollen together. They all work together unselfishly. And I think that coming to Detroit and having an opportunity to work for Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and Sheila Hamp, and understanding that this is an unselfish community. This is bring your lunch pail, to work, blue collar, hardworking, auto industry type of mentality, right? And that's the way that this defense is. That's the way that this team operates. Playing to the scheme is huge. If you play to the scheme and you're doing what's right, and I've always said this too, that you can be the fastest, the biggest, the strongest, and you can run yourself out of the play because you didn't take a good angle. You didn't do the right thing. But it sounds like, maybe Ahmed doesn't have to win every play as long as he's helping to lead others to success. Yup, you took the right angle, which drove the runner back inside and ended up in Aiden's arms or Tyleek's arms or DJ Reader or whomever, right? There's so many different things going on the football field that not a lot of the common fan or the casual fan understands. It goes deeper. And then not worrying about the intangibles or the off the field stuff. I've never heard one thing bad about Ahmed off the field, getting in trouble, nothing like that. Nothing has surfaced for me. But those are the things that, yeah, when you have a player that you don't have to worry about, and all you have to do is coach them, and he's highly coachable, and oh yeah, he's really likable. Look, this dude's going to win the locker room over, and you know what? Guys might get sick of him being so damn happy. But look, he's going to be infectious in this locker room. I'm excited to see where he goes, man. I'm more or equally excited to see what happens for you on your journey through this, whatever that is, whatever your wife and you, whatever she allows you to do. But look, you've got a place here all the time, anytime you want to come on. I don't care what you want to talk about, but we would always be welcoming and open to have you on. And of course, Ahmed, if he ever wants to come on and talk to, we would love to interview him. I'm going to give the guys a final 60 here, and then I know you probably have to run. But so, Eric, man, you've learned a lot today, I'm sure. What are the final things that you'd like to talk about real quick? And let's try to keep time and consideration here.
I have one 2-part question. What number is Ahmed going to wear? Everybody's asking in the chat. And then number 2, you watched Hard Knocks, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So that Dan Campbell has all the rookies sing a song. So you might want to start helping him pick out a song to sing. And just don't pick Billie Jean. Pick a good song for him to sing, something easy to remember, and get everybody clapping. They'll love it.
Okay. So to your first part, I know the number thing, right? For college dudes, they're like, what number am I going to get? I know he was a little frustrated because none of the 90s were available. So he's like, man, I gotta take a number. And he ended up grabbing for training camp purposes only. So don't go out and buy this, right? Because this is subject to change. I think he's going to rock 61. I just said it's an upside down 9, bro. Like, just think of it that way and you'll be all right. Right. And so he's like, okay, I think I could do that. And so I think he's going to go 61 for training camp. And then, with whatever changes might happen with the roster, that is liable to change. And so we'll see what happens with that. And then singing is probably not going to go well for him, but his energy is infectious. So he gets up there, he might do a little belly dancing, right? And maybe get a little Arabic song, and he'll get the room going. But yeah, he's a great energy. Great energy.
I want to see it. I gotta see it, man. It's gonna be great.
Walk like the Egyptian.
Yeah, there you
go.
go.
That's an easy one. Walk like an Egyptian. Maybe that's what he does, right? I mean, that's easy. You could sing that one. Easy.
Riley, man, what did you take away from this? What questions do you have for Cory?
I don't even know where to start with that. Just referring to the comments throughout. What an enjoyable conversation. And Cory, we can't thank you enough for being vulnerable and honest, and just echo Will's sentiment. I know that you're going to be humble and deflect the praise, but really, man, it's I felt the emotion listening to Ahmed when he was drafted, and then listening to you now. The characteristics, the traits, they seem to be one and the same. And so I imagine that's kind of throughout your family. But as you're talking, it just puts this motto in my mind, like how you do one thing is how you do everything. Right. And it seems that you've, feel that on a very deep level, and it's inspirational. So again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for giving us some time here on Rocked On Detroit Lions. And I think we've all got a new favorite player.
Yeah, absolutely. Cory, so I'm going to finish with just a couple of things. King SJ says he's been listening in the car. It's been great to hear. Funny enough, Bud is his nickname from his parents. Orner U of M Dad says Ahmed is lucky and blessed to have a brother like you.
Thank you.
Mike P says, thank you, Cory, for sharing this amazing story of your brother and your family. You have made this show the best I have seen as far as broadcasts go. Thank you for opening this door of life.
Wow. Thank you very much, man. Yeah,
everyone's super positive, that you're going to find in this channel. And of course, we have the best fans, audience members in the world. The best fans, Lions fans, it doesn't get any better. But the best audience, man, really good group of people here. Cory, I can't thank you enough. Is there anything that you want to end with before we let you sail away today?
I just thank you guys for the opportunity. Thank Jesus for the opportunity to get his name out there. And I will remind you that Ahmed doesn't want handouts, right? He's going to come in there and he's going to earn it, man. He wants to earn it. He wants to earn your guys' trust. That belief that Detroit has shown in him and the support that he already is getting, he feels it, and he's going to come in there and earn it. He's that type of guy. And like you said, like the way he does one thing is the way he does everything. And he's going to do that with all of his heart. And so, I think you guys are going to be excited. And I think he's going to be a great fit, have a great impact, and the future is bright for the Detroit Lions and for Ahmed and for this channel. And I just really appreciate this opportunity. And so thanks you guys very much. And I look forward to being on again soon.
All right. Cory Besch, the brother of Ahmed Hassanein, joined us today to discuss the past, right? The future, the present, about Ahmed and his journey into the NFL and a lot of the family dynamics that make him who he is today. Cory, appreciate all of your time, man. I know you got up early for this show, and I like I said, the door's open anytime.
Anytime, brother.
Anytime.
Nothing better to do with my morning, man. Nothing better.
There you go. So give Ahmed our blessings and best wishes, and tell him good luck. What, you got rookie minicamp this week, yeah?
Yeah. He flies out today. I'm taking him to the airport, and he leaves in 3 hours from now. So
okay.
Let's go.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Well, good deal. We can't wait to hear all the good stuff. I'll be there at camp, and I don't know if you're gonna come in for any of this stuff, but if you do, man, look me up. We'll get together.
Yeah, definitely. I will be around Detroit for sure at some point this year. So I will definitely hit you guys up.
All right, man. You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all of your time. And again, the story, it just it's a heartwarming tearjerker, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, you too, buddy. See ya. What an impactful interview. And it's not just, us doing the interview. I think that the story told itself. It's easy to interview guys like Cory that have such a natural way of telling a story. And I think that the thing that you're going to learn quickly about Cory is the story is so natural. It is so true. Go look and listen and to all of the shows that he's been on, and also his brother. Their stories are in line, and it's the same story that's being told, and that tells you how real it really is. And man, I feel like the society is missing a lot of that. People just being real, being honest, being open. And this is an amazing story. It's an amazing opportunity. I can't wait to see where it goes.
That is such a good point, Will, that you make, and appreciate the opportunity to be involved with it. Because you're right. There's not only does he have a great story to tell, but the willingness to tell it, the eagerness to tell it, and to be genuine. just beautiful. I think that's a great point that you make.
It's hard to do interviews when you have 4 people in, right? And I try to be conscientious of making sure that everybody gets their swing at the bat. But overall, how do you guys think it went? And I guess you can tell me any suggestions. Of course, you out there, let us know your suggestions, your comments, your feedback. When the show is done, we want to know what we can do to be better for the next time, whether it's a look, whether it's the way that it's set up, the way that questions are done. You let us know. We're going to try to evolve. As I made the promise, we're going to make sure that this channel gets better each and every day. I did take down some questions, and I tried to get the chat involved as much as I could. So I do have some comments here that we'll roll today for the winner, the daily winner. While I'm setting that up, Eric, what was your final takeaway from today?
Oh, I loved it. We got a little bit of insight of where this kid's coming from, what he's been through, and some stuff you didn't hear on the Rich Eisen show, some stuff you didn't hear on the other podcasts. So I like that we brought some stuff out that not everybody else got to.
Yep. And I've been told that I'm the Barbara Walters of interviews, and so I won today. Not that I want to see people cry, but that you're getting into those real feelings, and you could tell just how important it really is to Cory. Yeah. How incredible! I'd like to know in the chat, do you guys have somebody in your life that's like Cory? Do you have a Cory in your life? As a matter of fact, Cory, if you're still listening, man, we got to do a book deal, because you've got a story that people need to read. We got to get a book deal for this dude. But anyway, go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was just going to say, how awesome is it going to be when they have training camp and Bud ends up winning the talent contest by singing Walk Like an Egyptian? That'll be awesome. And dude, I'm seriously thinking about getting a jersey that says Bud on the back, because that's what I call my son. My son is Bud. I never call him by his name. And I thought that was super cool that they call him Uncle Bud.
That's funny. I'd be careful with Bud, but you know how it is today.
Come on now.
Put it in quotes. I don't know. All right. So from yesterday, we had Michael Garrity that was going to carry over, because we had 5 and we only have 4 positions a day for best comment of the day. Please bear with me, because today was kind of difficult to manage the chat, manage the interview, and all of the background project management stuff here. I had Dwayne Keene, and his question or comment was, big thank you to Cory for sharing the story to us, for sharing this story to us about your brother and how he is and will have a big impact on our team. Much love and respect to you and your family. All grit, never back down. Thank you. So that's Dwayne Keene's message. Michael Garrity from yesterday. I think that I saved his message. But Michael Garrity today said, Ahmed will have the best support in the NFL with the Lions. This looks like a match made in heaven. More and more every minute. And Scott Young says, good head on this guy's shoulders. His brother, so glad his brother is a Lion. Raised right, has pride and faith. What a perfect fit for our pride. And then Scott Young, you also sent in a question yesterday about a jersey. Just email me, mailbag@rockdown.com, and we'll figure something out. And appreciate you doing that. So we've got Scott Young today, Dwayne Keene, Michael Garrity, and Mike P. Mike P's question or statement was, again, thank you, Cory, for sharing this amazing story of your brother and your family. You have made this show the best I have seen so far as broadcasts go. Thank you for opening this door of life. Those are your 4 options. There's your poll. Who wins? We'll let it go out for a few minutes. Gentlemen, I know if you got things you have to do today and you have to check out, you just let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to get through this here for a few moments, and then I was extremely... Do either of you have to go?
No, I have a question for you, though, Will.
Okay.
Juju that we had on the show a few months ago, did he end up getting picked up by anyone as a UDFA? Do you know?
I haven't seen anything yet. Obviously, everything that I get is Lions related, right? So
I just didn't know if he had reached out, if he got picked up as a UDFA or anything.
I don't think he did. Can take a look real quick.
While you're looking that up, I will say just how much I appreciate the opportunity. Will could have easily done that interview by himself. And Will, when you ask the chat, and I am certainly open to feedback, anything that we can do. But it's an honor to be here. I know I say it all the time, but when I'm on a show with Will and with Eric, people that are very smart, that I listen to as a fan, that's how I got involved in all of this, because Will and Eric, they've got good hearts, they know what they're talking about, and then if I think people understand, but the level of detail that Will puts into these things. I mean, we had the questions sent over to us ahead of time. It's inspiring how serious he takes all of this, and it's a damn honor to be part of it. And so, yeah, I certainly want the feedback, but I loved, just like you said, Eric, there were some things that weren't in other interviews. It's great to kind of just flow the conversation. I felt it was paced very well. I felt that, obviously Cory did a great job. Will, you integrated the chat. I just don't know what could have been done better, but knowing you're always going to be looking for something to be done better. So
it's just like, the ABCs of sales, always be closing. You always have to be conscious of how you can improve. And, I think that we just heard that entire testimony of Ahmed. He didn't settle, right? Yeah, he went out and had a few sacks in a game, and I'm pretty sure the first question he's going to ask his brother and everybody, how can I get better? I had 3 sacks today. How can I get 4? That's the same way I want to approach this is, okay, we just had the brother of a rookie drafted by the Detroit Lions on. Amazing interview. How can we get better? How can we have Dan Campbell on? How can we have Brad Holmes on? That's where we need to get. And that's why, this week and moving forward is, my commitment to you is always making the channel better. But my question is why you haven't subscribed already. You're seeing the people that we're getting in, the interviews that we're doing, the places that we're going, and being credentialed is huge for an independent, podcast. I mean, something that started out of, a miserable situation for myself, and what I wanted to do with it was a very big, very big undertaking, and we'll get there. We'll get there. So looks like we've got 41% so far for Mike P. Michael Garrity at 29, Scott Young at 24. Missed a few super chats during the show. Big one by Trace for 20. Phenomenal show today. Thank you, Cory, for coming on. Trace, thank you so much for obviously doing what you do. Being a mod. Our mods don't. I don't know if they hear it enough, but they do an incredible job behind the scenes. They're always communicating in the mods chat to make sure that we're doing what's best for the audience and for our guests, for the show. So you guys are highly appreciated. And like I said, this summer, we're going to be doing something together as a team to kind of, celebrate some things. And we got a lot to celebrate. So I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully that's going to be at the Tigers game this summer. I think it's the 5th or 6th of July. I can't remember now, but still waiting on more information. So thank you, Trace. Really appreciate that. I got a lot to clip. So if you guys, recognize any good clips from today, by all means, let me know. So I'm going to end the poll. It looks like this one's running away with Mike P. So Mike P is going to be our winner today. And that is comment of the day. So this is a new thing that we wanted to add. Every single day we're going to grab, 4, 5, 6 comments. We're going to vote on those comments and find a winner. And then all of the monthly winners will go into a drawing at the end of the month, the Wheel of Names, and you'll win something. whatever kind of grab bag it is for that month, or, you know, whether it's a sponsored piece, you know, of memorabilia or tickets or whatever, right? It'll be something. So appreciate everybody. Anything you guys want to end with? Anything that's on your mind?
Yeah, just today was a phenomenal show. Lots of fun. Really cool to get to meet Cory, learn about Ahmed and both of their stories. Very, very, very cool to see all this. And I can't wait to see what all this brings us in the future.
You know, I don't think that, and I know I've said this a few times already, I don't think that people really understand how important Cory was during this whole process. Like, there's people that get paid big time money to do what he did, to facilitate, to be there, to coach, to nurture. It's almost like being an agent, right? But he did it from a place of love, right? He did it from a place of commitment to his family and his brother. I'm sure that he can take that and do whatever he wants with it. And now being exposed to the NFL and the type of contacts that I'm sure that he'll develop and relationships that he'll cultivate, I'm sure that there'll be opportunities and doors opening. What a humble, well-spoken, amazing person, right? I don't know how to better describe him. You know, during this conversation, I never took it from him that he gloated or tooted his own horn or made it about him ever. Yeah, he did some things to make some things happen. And he was probably responsible for a lot of things, but at the end of the day, his brother had to put the work in. And his brother had to, you know, make it happen. He still had to show up each and every single day. And that's what I think I took away from this, was he never once pointed the finger at him. If anything, it was about everything else going on and how he could just help facilitate and help bring Ahmed to the finish line. What about you, Riley?
Yeah, it's that was serendipity. Like, the story of the player, the story of Cory, that it was on this show, me knowing you guys and the background, a little bit of things. And I was lucky enough to be able to tell Will that back in October when I interviewed him. And, you know, the Rise and Grind morning show, it's a destination. It's a place to be, and it's only getting better. And for me, again, it's a privilege to be able to participate with Eric and with Barbara Walters.
Barbara Wilters. Someone put in the comments, Barbara Wilters. Yeah, yeah, that's funny. My goal was not to, you know, make people cry, but it's, you know, I'm trying to pull the good stuff out.
You set the table for a heartfelt conversation, and you know, he's probably not doing that on getting that emotional on every one of them that he's doing, but that's what I love about going into this. You're going to get some common questions that you get asked on any one of these, but I think he maybe appreciated it. I hope he did. A few different types of questions, and whatever it was that tugged at his emotion. I think that's just Will Rock doing what Will Rock does, honestly.
Well, we try to be honest, man, and it's all about being truthful and honest and transparent. Try not to, you know, to stoop to others' lows, and I think that Cory appreciated that too. That's what we're about. Like, that's why I send questions ahead of time. I don't want anyone to ever feel like I'm gonna pigeonhole them and put them in a corner and make them fight themselves, you know, out of it. Yeah, some journalists do that. You know, some interviewers do that for a purpose because they want to see how people react. I guess it would just depend on the interview. It'd depend on what exactly. If it was a politician, yeah, I'm going to pigeonhole the hell out of them. But for something like this, I just want the real, the raw, the truth, the transparent conversation and history. And that's what we got. And now the Detroit fan base is, in my opinion, that much better for it because they just got a real story. That some of it was shared on other platforms and a lot of it wasn't. And that's why I wanted to make this about the family, the dynamic that surrounds the player. Why? Because we don't get that information, right? That is one of the main, I can almost bet that is one of the main focuses of Brad Holmes. who is this person, but who's behind him? Who's around him? Who's helping him? Where's he come from? Why is he this way? What did he, go up against? Why is he resilient? So getting all of those questions answered, look, we didn't have to ask much. Cory was able to tell the story like I mentioned to him yesterday. This is your show, man. It's your story. Just tell it. I'll ask a few questions, but you just go on and on and on as much as you want to, because it's your story to tell. Anyway, I loved it. Appreciate you guys sticking around today. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning with the Rise and Grind morning show at 8 a.m. I promise we will get off and running at the right time. We will bring back the morning show glory of the theme song and get it rolling. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Unless you guys have anything else to say, that's it for today.
That's it.
All right. Thanks again to Cory Besch for joining the Rise and Grind morning show. I can't wait to cut up some of these clips and get it out there, man. It's gonna be a good day in the office. You guys have a wonderful day. Go One Pride, go Detroit Lions. Ahmed, can't wait to see you on the field, man. Take care.
Yeah, 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Hey. Against all odds. Against all odds. Against all odds. Against all odds.